All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Movies by McManus podcast, the podcast where we break down movies, comics, TV, books, whatever kind of media you're into, in the context of who created it and what effect it's trying to have on the world. I'm your host, Greg. I'm with my brother, Mike.
Whatever kind of media you're into.
Whatever kind of media you're into. Especially
VHS tapes, cassettes.
You should get VHS. I want to... If we get new like stuff for the table, get some VHS.
I think a lot of our home movie VHSs were destroyed.
In Sandy. I think I saved a couple of them. Some Scooby-Doo ones.
I meant like home videos. Childhood memories.
Right. Today we're gonna be breaking down 2021 miniseries Dr. Death on Peacock. So this is the first Movies by McManus where it's a show that I worked on. I can't really say anything.
I didn't even know you were going to say that.
Oh, yeah. That's not I'm allowed to say that I worked on it.
Okay.
I can't say anything that happened behind the camera. I could say whatever's public knowledge. I could say that we filmed it. I can say that we filmed it in Brooklyn and on Long Island, and that, we kind of dressed up Long Island to look like Texas.
That's awesome. I didn't realize that. Where did they shoot? Yeah. Grumman? Not
Grumman, no. We shot in Broadway Stages, which is in Greenpoint, Brooklyn.
A
lot of it's shot on Long Island. You'll notice Queens College is used for kind of a lot of the hospital stuff.
That went over my head.
Yeah, Queens College and Hofstra University is used.
People from the city are going to cry right now if you don't, make it known that Queens is not part of Long Island.
Yes.
They don't want this stink.
Queens.
So where on Long Island did they shoot, though?
Let me try to think, because this was also kind of a while ago.
It was a while ago.
A year ago that we wrapped on it.
Mm-hmm.
Hofstra, I mentioned. Where? I'm trying to think where else. I'm not exactly
By
sure.
Hofstra, you said?
Yeah. Well, you could see there, if you know Hofstra University, if you're from Long Island, you can tell the overpass.
Oh,
so
dude,
the overpass that goes
crazy.
over.
I fucking had that thought.
The overpass that goes over Hempstead Turnpike, Hofstra University.
I said that to myself while I was watching it. I was like, that looks like two things. It looked like the Hofstra overpass, and it reminded me of one of the overpasses by Hunter College.
At Hunter College.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's the scene where
crazy.
Where Christopher Duntsch is trying to get into Kelsey Grammer's training program and shot
And they shot that in Hofstra?
Yeah, that's the Hofstra overpass.
Wow.
Joshua Jackson, who plays Christopher Duntsch, and Kelsey Grammer
fucking killed it.
Kelsey Grammer did kill it.
I meant Joshua Jackson, but Kelsey Grammer killed it too.
Kelsey, I was excited to see him actually be good in something,
Dude, put some respect on his name.
Well, I know he was Frasier, but I feel like
Frasier like that?
I feel like you see when was the last time besides Frasier you saw Kelsey Grammer being something good?
I don't know. What do you need to do after Frasier? That's a
true.
fucking mic drop.
I guess.
Yo, I'm the king of Seattle, bitch.
I guess. So a lot of the Kelsey Grammer is great. Joshua Jackson is so terrifying in this.
Terrifying.
Joshua Jackson
really
was
is.
really where the performance was of just
Sociopath.
One, you could see why someone who has very low self-esteem would be attracted to this person.
Mm-hmm.
Why someone
gaslighting
would be
100%.
drawn to him. Yeah, 100%. It kind of highlights just abuser behavior.
Facts.
100%. I thought Alec Baldwin and Christian Slater were just all right.
Really?
I
really enjoyed watching them.
I thought they were all right. I don't know. I feel like
They were like
After,
the buddy cop.
Well,
like,
it was kind of, this is kind of my issue with these two characters, is like after their first conversation, I felt like I knew everything about them, and it doesn't really develop more.
It doesn't.
I was just like, okay, Alec Baldwin's the one who's serious all the time.
Guy.
Christian Slater is joking all the time, and they're both surgeons. And it's just like, you get these characters right away, and I feel like it doesn't really evolve past that.
That's true.
While
I still enjoyed watching them. Like, I didn't mind spending time with them.
No, it definitely wasn't bad performance.
I agree.
I just feel like it didn't really go anywhere. And I feel like, especially with, like, you know, the title character and who it's based around is Christopher Duntsch, but, like, there are heroes. The assistant DA. The DA, Anna Sophia Robb, who I liked her performance better than them. I feel like Anna Sophia Robb has been like a child actress for a while, and now like is finally grown up. I believe me and her are the same age.
Whack.
I
was hoping she was older than me.
No, me and her are the same age.
Like
she is from the Johnny Depp Willy Wonka.
Okay. I saw that in the theaters.
I think I did too. I don't know, but when it comes to Joshua Jackson, like he really kills it, and like you feel how like the scenes he's in, you kind of feel slimy afterwards.
Well,
like
he's in a lot of scenes.
No, but what I mean, like his performance makes you feel slimy. He has like his
facial expressions.
He has like a snake-like attitude about him, you know?
Yeah.
That's what I always felt. And like one of the cringiest scenes are kind of the pre-surgery interview scenes.
Rough.
Where you see
Rough.
He's charming these people, and you see them going along with him, and you know this is going to end horribly. And it's kind of just like it's like watching a snake wrap around a mouse. That's what I was thinking about it. And like there is nothing you could do to stop it. Those are the cringiest scenes, and like going into, especially like in the early episodes, when you kind of see there's the machine they have to basically pump out blood, and you see it's like almost overflowing.
Mm-hmm.
That was something that like it's in those early scenes, but if you watch so this came out at the same time as they did a Dr. Death documentary that was also
I gotta
on
watch
Peacock.
that next, yeah.
And something that was like very clear in the documentary, it was more so in the documentary that they kind of were always talking about how bloody all of his surgeries were, and it's just like
Jesus Christ.
They were saying basically he was doing surgery blind because there was so much blood pooling up in the wounds that there was no way he could have seen anything that he was doing. And it's one of the early I think it's the first scene that Alec Baldwin is in.
Mm-hmm.
Alec Baldwin is basically the guy that they keep hiring to try to fix the damage that Christopher Duntsch does in surgery.
Right.
And he's talking about like the muscle around the patient's spine has basically been turned to putty because it's been stabbed so many times.
In all honesty, and I know the answer is like, they kick the can down the road, they send him to a new hospital, he's allowed to resign, he gets privileges somewhere else, and it's, my big thing that I kept coming back to was the Catholic priest scandal, and how they would just like, instead of taking the necessary actions to stop these abuses from happening again, they would just like send him to another diocese.
Yeah.
It's very, very similar in that regard. But honestly, like, I just kept coming back to, I'm sorry, how could there have been this many times and someone not to just physically remove him?
Yeah, well,
and it speaks to like the power dynamic of like the assistants, and he's the it's like going into battle and going against the general.
Yeah.
But seriously, I mean, that many times, I can never comprehend that.
Yeah, there was an interview with at Dallas Medical Center, which, like, even to say Dallas Medical Center did the right thing is stretching it. But Dallas Medical Center, out of all of them, was probably, like, handled it the best because he was only there for, like, 4 days.
And they just
4 days, 3 surgeries. He one of his patients died. One of his patients was, like, permanently injured, and one of them, the surgery turned out fine, and they fired him. And one of the nurses there was, like, they interviewed him, and, like, he's a character in the show of basically saying, like, look, I'm not a surgeon. I'm looking at someone who's a surgeon, and, like, I'm almost positive what they're doing is wrong. But, like, how am I supposed to know when, like, this guy has been through medical school and I haven't? I've been through nursing school. And that one nurse that's at Dallas Medical Center, he did do, like, the most out of any, like, operating room nurse, OR nurse, to kind of stop Duntsch. In the end, he, like, gets the chief of medicine of the hospital to come down to basically tell Duntsch he has to stop. Because the situation was basically, like, he knew the surgery was going wrong, and, like, he didn't know what to do, and Christopher Duntsch wanted to start performing brain surgery on the patient. But Dr. Duntsch is not a brain surgeon, he's a neurosurgeon, and they couldn't do brain surgery at the hospital.
Yeah, this is in the show.
It was not a hospital that's equipped to do brain surgery. They say, here at Dallas Medical Center, like, we don't have the tools to do brain surgery. And he goes, I'll do it with whatever tools is available. And the nurse was like, after, like, I heard that, I was just like, okay, I, like, really have to do something to stop this. He leaves the operating room to get the chief of medicine to go in there and tell Christopher Duntsch he had to stop in surgery. It's insane, and, like, yes, it does. It speaks to the politics of, like, surgery, of just, like, when you're in that room, you have to do whatever the surgeon tells you to do, like, even if you think things might go wrong, because this guy is supposed to know more, is supposed to know more than you.
Why would any of his surgeries have gone well? I don't understand that part. Like, so you said that one turned out fine. Like,
I think it was, he had 38 surgeries altogether.
33.
33 were maimed, 2 were killed.
Yeah.
So, like, 3 surgeries out of 38.
But I'm saying, did he just choose to, like, actually do the right thing that time? Or, like,
I'm not 100%
like,
sure.
I don't understand those.
I'm not 100% sure. I guess, like, he just...
Did he try?
Maybe he was such a bad surgeon that he tried to hurt the person and ended up fixing them.
Yeah.
But I don't know. And from
those are strange.
From what one of the women who, like, who had surgery by him, and, like, it was considered one of his successful surgery, she was just like, my pain wasn't healed. Like, it's more, he didn't, like, do anything to fix me. It's more so just he didn't hurt me more than I already was.
Right.
So, like, calling those surgeries even success, it's more just like he didn't, injure the person for life.
Yeah. I know you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but when you look at him in real life, you're just like, I mean, they should have just arrested that guy on sight. Just like,
that's
like,
another
sir,
thing.
you're under arrest. What did I do?
Just, you're so ugly.
Dude, you look like shit.
So
You gotta go.
they talk about it in the show, but it's more like highlight. That's a thing of like, even how like brutal the show is.
Yeah.
The real life story is way worse.
Yeah.
Of how disheveled this dude was. He was constantly drunk. They said like he would leave mid-surgery to go do coke in the bathroom.
I mean, that's kind of awesome.
That's actually kind of cool. He would leave surgery to go do coke in the bathroom, and they're just saying he was like.
And they knew that.
They said like he suspected it because
Yeah.
he'd be like half falling asleep. He'd go to the bathroom and then come out and like basically have the demeanor.
I'd be like, all right, let's kill some people.
All right,
Got my second wind.
One of the things I wanted to talk about this is kind of like why someone like this would go on for so long.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, over 2 years, 33 maimed patients is insane. And you said like it was kind of like they were passing the buck off to somebody else.
Yeah. When did he start performing surgery?
Okay.
So did he start? Was he ever a normal surgeon?
No.
So why did it? So it took him that long, just from his MD and PhD and all the research shit and the dysgenics shit. Is dysgenics real? Did he actually have a company? I know he's involved in stem cells. Anyway, the point is like
I'm pretty sure a lot of that was true.
So, but the question, like, so as soon as he was allowed to start performing surgery, he started doing this shit?
Yes. He immediately started maiming people on the surgeon table. And like the reason he was able to go on was financial.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but again, like,
so here's what happened. So one, they had the dysgenics.
Yeah.
He had this dysgenics and this research that he was working on, which board members at the Baylor Plano Hospital and Dr. Jeffrey Skadden were financiers for, were backers for, and they knew that if the surgeon whose research whose research this is based off of was maiming people on the surgery table, then financially that's a loss for them. Another reason,
because no one would want to have
because no one would want to have anything to do with that company.
Yeah.
Another reason, it is very hard.
That's another podcast.
Another podcast is shooting in the other yard.
That's the fighter and the kid over there.
Another, so it is actually like, it's very hard to actually fire a doctor.
Yeah.
Because they are able to sue for lost wages. Mm-hmm. If a hospital goes to a surgeon and says, we are giving you privileges at our hospital, and then they take it away and they don't give enough of a reason, you could sue for millions of dollars. It's better to just let the doctor resign.
Right.
But then if they resign, you have to write them a letter of recommendation.
You have to?
If you don't, if they apply for privileges at another hospital, and that hospital goes to you as a reference, and you give them a bad recommendation, and they don't get privileges at another hospital, they could sue you, saying
that's like fire.
What?
That's like being fired almost.
That's like being fired almost. They could sue you, saying because of you, saying like you didn't have good enough reason not to recommend me, so I lost wages and I'm suing you.
So
and
that's
now
why they would always say like, well, I have to give my recommendation based off of what I personally saw.
Yes, exactly. And
but what about
Kelsey Grammer's
if there's
character?
15 maimed people at your hospital? Like, you're not in the room while it happened, but it happened at your hospital. So how could you?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think it's more just so some of it's pass the buck off to somebody else, but it's just like, even if there's a chance that this guy might sue us, we're not going to take it.
Yeah.
And here's the most sinister reason, which really isn't touched on in the show. Mm-hmm. It's more so touched on in the documentary and in the podcast of Dr. Death, which follows, is that medical malpractice lawsuits in Texas have a cap of $250,000. You can't sue for more than that.
Right.
So even if every single one of Christopher Duntsch's patients sued, they still make a profit of,
the doctor suing.
They said they still make at least $65,000 per surgery, even if every single one of his patients sued.
On top of the
Yeah. So on top of
the difference is still $65,000 in the pocket.
The difference is still $65,000 in your pocket for the hospital.
Yeah, so it's just very clearly.
So it's clearly financial, and if you look at
that's absolute worst case scenario.
Yeah,
because most of those, Yeah.
Absolute worst case scenario, they get the maximum amount, $250,000. You still made $65,000.
That's fucking crazy.
And you see at Dr. Death, the TV show, mostly focuses on Christopher Duntsch's time at the Baylor Plano Hospital and Dallas Medical Center, because those are the two most prestigious hospitals that he worked at. But after that, he works at a hospital called Southampton Medical Center,
which that's not in the show.
I don't know if it's mentioned at all in the show. I don't think by name it's mentioned.
Yeah, they clearly show him going to different places.
Yes.
So got it.
Before Christopher Duntsch goes to this hospital, is basically bankrupt. And Christopher Duntsch is a neurosurgeon. They want to take any neurosurgeon because neurosurgeons are a huge moneymaker for them. They're like, we are going under, we're bankrupt, but we have this guy coming in, and we can open up like a whole neurosurgery wing. Suddenly, this is a brand new source of income for us. Mm-hmm. And he sticks around at he by the time he's done at Dallas Medical Center, he's only like halfway through. And he does the rest of
halfway through his crimes.
Halfway through his crimes, exactly. He does the rest of his crimes at Southampton Medical Center. Southampton Medical Center at some point changes their name to University Medical Center. So he sticks around for that hospital, maiming people, pretty much because they were going to go bankrupt without him. And it leads to, this is the main problem. This is the problem that not just this case, this like series in general is trying to address. It's
a problem.
These hospitals are prioritized. It's the problem with America in general, that these hospitals are prioritizing money over the health and safety of their patients.
Yeah, I mean, this is a very extreme example of that, but it's true.
Well, so the Dr. Death podcast.
Yeah.
The first season is about Christopher Duntsch. There's 2 seasons, and then they're coming out with a third. But the point of the podcast in general, and I believe the show is going to continue and have another season after this. And basically, it's not just about this one doctor, but each season would be about a different doctor who kind of terrorized their patients.
And I hope that, like physically?
Well, physically, or just like a different
financially
way.
Oh, I was gonna say,
was in season 2.
Yeah.
I forget the doctor's name, but like it's even may even be a more gruesome story of this doctor told healthy patients that they had cancer.
What?
So that he could put them in for chemotherapy treatments and charge them for it.
Whoa, that's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
This actually happened?
Yes, that actually happened.
How could you be that
How
insane?
Could you be that evil? How could you butcher people on the surgery table? And how could you, as a board
because
of directors
I could
for a
almost
hospital,
understand that a little bit
almost
more.
understand.
Well, just from the sense of like, yeah, people are serial killers.
Yeah.
I get it. Like, there's tons of serial killers throughout history. Like, I could wrap my head around that a little bit more, as fucked up as it is, than like, I don't know how you tell someone with a straight face that they have cancer when they don't.
Yeah.
That's like, tell me someone killed that guy.
I don't know what happened to him.
Dude.
Talk
about a guy.
Like you're watching Christopher Duntsch, especially I pointed back the like pre-surgery interviews are the most cringy scenes because it's like, imagine you're watching a serial killer convince their victims to let them kill them.
Sure. That's, again, like, the Long Island serial killer convincing those girls not to take their phone or ID with them because they're a high-ranking government official or whoever the fuck they were. Christopher Duntsch
in the CIA. All right, so we have to like relate it back to MK Ultra somehow, of that Christopher Duntsch was allowed to go on for so long because he was giving information about the human spine to the CIA, who were then using
Ladies and gentlemen, we have the documents.
Who were then using it to create the second iteration of MK Ultra, which became COVID-19. Which became the COVID-19
I know
vaccine.
Christopher Duntsch. He's a fantastic doctor.
He's the best
He's
doctor.
done a lot of tremendous research. From what I understand, these are very bad people. These people, they're very bad people.
Oh my! Wait,
They're
hold on.
after
So his last Jerry Glidewell is his last victim, who
Jerry Gladwell was a nobody. They weren't even close.
Who he basically decapitated.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, we've all wanted to decapitate our friends.
No. Jerry Gladwell. I mean, Jeff Gladwell wasn't his friend. That's Jerry Summers. Jeff Gladwell was Summers. The last.
Who is the actor? Who is that actor?
I don't know.
Feel like
he looks
know
familiar.
Right? I know. I feel like he was in like movies growing up.
But Jeffrey Summer, at least in the show,
let's look that up.
He's one of the most interesting characters because like you see like he's the type of person with like. He has very low self-esteem. He's unsure of, like, his place in the world. He really doesn't have, like, much ambition or think very highly of himself. And, like, you see why that...
He's very loyal.
Well, you see why that character kind of commits himself to this super charismatic, overly confident, super high self-esteem of Christopher Duntsch. And
he's kind of like John C. Reilly to Will Ferrell in Talladega Nights.
Yes. Well, I was going to relate it to, like, cults of just, like, you see Jerry Summers, at least in the show, of just, like, that's the type of character who would join a cult, Danny in Midsummer.
Yeah,
and
it's sad. That's the sad. I love that guy. Like, he's such a fun character. Like, always going to strip club. Like, he's like, dude, don't fuck with that guy. He just likes to go to strip clubs and like watch baseball games.
That's the thing of just like
AKA
he was
someone who could be my friend.
He was so loyal to the point where he's like, I'll let you perform surgery on me to prove that you're a good surgeon.
I know, it's really sad.
And it was basically just like Christopher is just done with him. And decides to basically just paralyze him because he can.
For what reason? Yeah, exactly.
Just because he can.
The only person who had your back?
Yeah. And it's just like because he doesn't really care. People are useful, and then once their usefulness runs out, that's it. He was becoming bigger. He was now had privileges at the most prestigious hospital in Texas. He didn't need Jerry Summers anymore.
Right. So
he decides to paralyze him for life.
Yeah.
He's
lucky he's in prison.
Yeah. And then the real life Jerry Summers died in February of this year.
From COVID.
No, from his injuries.
Really?
Yeah. It said it was
So
it was related
are they going
to.
to charge him again for that?
I hope so. I don't know.
They better. He's
I
already
hope
got
so.
life in prison, but they better charge his ass again.
He's eligible for parole in 2045.
Yeah, fuck that. That's way too soon.
Yeah.
That's way too soon.
In 2045, he'll be eligible for parole.
Yeah.
But I also before he meets Jerry Summers, we see he's kind of like he's in college football, and I like how like his kind of like buddy from college football, he like almost tries to do the same thing of like grooming him to be an ally, but like it doesn't work because like that character is confident in himself and does kind of have, you know, ambitions, at least in football or whatever, and has self-confidence, and it's just
Wait,
like
you're talking about the guy that's in the locker room with him?
yeah. And it's kind
That's
of
so early in the series. I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm having to go back.
But you see that like his kind of charm doesn't work on people who are like self-confident and like sure of themselves, because he does kind of like he does kind of like
He does fool the brass of the hospitals and stuff initially.
Right, exactly. He does. And I think it's kind of like in the world of football, you can't just get ahead by talking, you know?
That's true.
He's trying to
That's very true.
He's trying to convince that, you know, his coaches at least.
I like that. Yeah.
He tries to convince his coaches at least that he's better than everybody else because, like, he practices hard or whatever. Yeah. But it's just like you can't get ahead by talking because at the end of the day, the other people are just physically much bigger than you are.
Yeah, not even.
But you see, he finds his knack in medicine where you can kind of get away with that.
Well, dude, it's funny because, like, with sales, which I'm involved in, you know, there is always that moment where, you know, whether I'm selling my services with my company to a prospective client or if I'm on the receiving end of a sales pitch as an artist, because I walk both lines, if I'm selling someone, like, there's a moment where they have to just throw up their hands and say, all right, like, I think you're going to do a good job and I'm going to invest in it. Same with me. Like, this morning I had a call for my group. I'm on the receiving end of a sales call, and I like what he had to say, and I go, okay, we'll do it. Yeah. You know, do I know if he's going to do a good job? No. Like, I'm saying, you know, when you make a sale, you have convinced someone that you could do a good job. Yeah. When you pay for something like that, you're making an investment to say, you know, this looks like it could work out. But there's always that moment of persuasion. Yeah. And he was able to do that to a large degree because, you know, again, it's such a specialized thing, too. Even people that are in the same goddamn room are still hesitant. Yeah. So the power of persuasion is, you know, then you couple that with like all the degrees and the prestige and the money, and it's just a recipe for fucking disaster.
Well, I thought it was interesting, the comparison between that and college football, because, you know, I always thought that, like, if you're able to convince enough people that you're a genius, you don't actually have to be one. But you can't convince people that you're 6'4" and 300 pounds.
Exactly. I mean, it's like NXIVM. It's like any type of cult where, you know, you don't even have to look that deep, and you go, what are you even doing? Like, this is all bullshit. But people that have serious trauma, emotional abuse, trust issues, you know, victims of assault, sexual assault, there's unfortunately there's tons of things that weaken your ability to have your, you know, there's the wrong people could take advantage of those vulnerabilities.
Exactly, and that is, you know, that's you just described an abuser. And I'm talking about, like, you know, abusers, I said this in my breakdown of just like abusers are just as good as grooming allies as they are at grooming victims.
Yeah, it's all persuasion.
Because he's able to persuade people like Jerry Summers to follow him and be loyal to him. He's able to convince, Kelsey Grammer's character to convince him that he's a genius and he doesn't need the required hours of training to be a certified neurosurgeon.
Well, he was also he was seeing green. He was seeing green.
Yeah, there's the financial aspect to it too. But
when you're seeing green, man, you're not thinking straight. I mean, I even I noticed that too, like, where you can't just see green all the time, right? Because you're gonna fucking you're gonna end up saying something you don't mean, or agreeing to something that you ever agree to something and then you go, why the fuck did I agree to that?
Yeah.
Because in the moment you're seeing green, or you're seeing an opportunity, and then you're like, you gotta fucking, it's never worth it, man.
Right.
One thing I wanted to talk about is just talking about the whole fucking problem with this country, and I'm sure it exists elsewhere, but we're in this country. In terms of capitalism within the medical context. I mean, myself, I'm involved in a lawsuit. I have been for almost 3 years. It was a car accident. Just from the shit that I've seen, dude, it's so disgusting.
Yeah.
I have representation. I have a lawyer. I have a law firm. The party that is representing the other side has a law firm. There's insurance companies that are being sued. And when I tell you, there's entire industries of doctors that just exist to say whatever the fuck either side wants to do.
Oh, yeah.
It's so sad. It actually breaks your heart, where you're like, wait a minute. So you mean to tell me that, some kid wants to be a doctor someday, and, are you really doing medicine? Are you really actually making a difference in the world? No.
Right.
You're actually a paid assassin defender of a major corporation.
Yeah.
That's what you do. Literally. And I mean, it's amazing. I had to go to this thing today, and and basically I had to get seen by doctors that represent the opposing party. And my lawyers tell me, I don't know if I should be talking about this, but my lawyers tell me, you just go there, you do what you have to do. What they do is they send a report that says everything that we say, it's the opposite. I'm like, what are we doing here? What is the purpose? This is how we're drumming up society.
Yeah.
We're the best country in the world. Why is this allowed to exist? That's not
We've turned
medicine.
everything into a business.
Right.
We've turned everything into a business. And you know what? When you turn everything into a business, you're inviting these people.
Yeah.
When you're turning everything into a business, and then you go and tell people the only way to get ahead in business is to be cutthroat and to be a savage and to be a sociopath, you're inviting the worst of people.
Because there are actually people like that.
Because there are people who are going to get advantage. Look,
most people are not George Belfort.
Yeah.
Those douchebags that wanted to fucking join Wall Street after Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah, exactly. But look, if we were a country where we had socialized medicine, Christopher Duntsch probably would have just been a serial killer. He was a serial killer who realized that he could infiltrate this world of privatized medicine and basically make it his bitch. And basically get in here and say, I could be the greatest serial killer of all time if I use the context of privatized medicine. And I use that to kind of hide my crimes.
It's still amazing to me that he got away with that many fucking crimes.
Yeah. It's
how could you, just theoretically, how could multiple people be that injured? Or wouldn't one person dying cause a massive investigation? You would think. Apparently not.
I mean, when people are trying to protect their doctors, when journalists can't really say anything until there's like way more evidence than you need because like it's so easy to get sued.
Yeah.
And he did try to he did, even when they just said like they were just saying the facts. 33 people got maimed while they were in surgery with this guy. 2 are dead. And he tried suing the journalists. And then even he gets his license revoked, and he's still he's trying to get a medical license in Colorado still. That's kind of the defense's argument of just like, well, in order to prove that this was attempted murder, that these were attempted murders, you have to prove that he was doing it on purpose, and he wasn't doing it on purpose. He was just a terribly trained surgeon. And
that's
like the point is just like,
show. Is that his actual defense?
It might have been his actual defense in real. If that was made up for the show or his actual defense, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But regardless, the point against that is, even if he wasn't doing it on purpose, he knows that the people going into his surgery, into his operating room, are not having a good outcome, and he goes through it anyway. So isn't that just enough? Isn't that enough to show he was doing it on purpose? He said, if this guy goes on my table, he might die. He goes through it anyway. Isn't that attempted murder?
I agree. Let's talk a little bit about, like, from a filmmaking perspective, what were your thoughts on this series? I think Peacock took a big swing here. I was impressed with that. They're clearly trying to establish themselves. I wonder if it'll catch on.
I hope so. So,
you hope that Peacock will catch on?
Well, I hope that people kind of watch this show, because
or that there's more competition amongst the streaming services.
Yeah, or that there's more competition amongst the streaming services.
That's probably always a good thing.
More competition is always a good thing.
As we get done making a comment about everything turns into a business competition.
Yeah.
No, it's true, though, from a quality standpoint.
Yes. So this was kind of produced to be Peacock's big draw to like get people to sign on when they first launched it. It was going to be like, we're launching Peacock, and at the same time we're releasing the show Dr. Death, so that people have incentive to come over to our streaming service.
Yeah, of course. I would imagine that has to come with a pretty heavy price tag. In other words, why would I sell my show to Peacock when I could sell it to Netflix?
It was specifically produced by NBC for that purpose. Okay. You know,
that's why
it wasn't like we were making a show and then we sold it to Peacock.
Gotcha.
It was NBC from the get-go was producing the show.
They launched Peacock with this show?
Yes. Actually, hold on. No. That was the original plan, but with COVID, it kind of messed things up.
Okay.
This was at least what I think the rationale was that COVID hit and they wanted a streaming service while everybody was in quarantine. So instead of waiting for Dr. Death to be finished,
they did reruns of...
They just, they did reruns of The Office and Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
Which, you know what? Their
Friends
original
on there now?
What?
Is Friends is NBC, so
Friends is on HBO Max.
But it's an NBC show.
It's an NBC show, but I'm pretty sure Warner Brothers
bought it.
Warner Brothers owns it, which means it's going to be on HBO Max. Because HBO Max is really turning into just the Warner Brothers streaming service.
Right. Okay.
I mean, look, their original plan 100% made sense. They didn't know coronavirus was going to happen, and then once it happened, they had to change things. They didn't know.
Damn,
I find that hard to believe.
Everybody knew that was going to happen.
I feel like this is. It's produced like a mid-tier TV show,
exactly.
There are definitely some scenes that are like you could tell if they had a higher budget they could have fixed. Joshua Jackson's fat suit I don't particularly like.
Why did they do that?
So thematically, I feel like as his life is getting full, if his life is deteriorating, he physically looks worse. But also, like in real life, Christopher Duntsch, once he got his medical license revoked, he gained an insane amount of weight.
Really?
Yeah, he got really big by the trial. He was pretty big.
I love that 70s cut.
The 70s cut?
Yeah, remember that one episode that just starts with a fucking 70s fucking like
right
vibe?
Yeah.
Like with the different, I can't describe it.
Yeah, no, I know what you meant.
That was cool.
Yeah, it was cool. They kind of like played with intros a little bit.
I like that.
The kind of like opening title of Dr. Death, it's always a bit different in every episode, which I like.
The last one was a little more upbeat than you would even think about. I liked how they did the dates. Yeah, like where they show where you are in the time.
That was another thing of like, which also is another kind of reason why they're making him gain weight, so that it's a visual representation of like, okay, here we are on the timeline.
I know, and it's like and they made him a kid in the football scene.
Yeah.
Which like, at first I was like, oh my god, don't do this, but then I'm like, it kind of worked.
Yeah, that was another like. I don't know. I couldn't believe Joshua Jackson as a college student.
Well, he's fucking in his 40s.
Yeah.
But yeah, it I don't know. You just got to suspend disbelief a little bit there.
Right,
but they very clearly like made his skin like super clear.
That was one of the problems is that while I get like the story is about, Christian Slater and Alec Baldwin, Randall Kirby and Robert Henderson, and their kind of fight to get this guy's license revoked and charges brought against him. So you want the story to kind of start and end with them, even though they don't really come in until like halfway through.
Well, not halfway through.
Well, no, they don't really come in through like
the timeline.
Halfway through the timeline. So I get that like a lot of it has to be told in flashback. But I do feel like sometimes it jumps around too much and you can get lost of like, okay, where are we on the timeline?
It jumps around a lot.
Yeah. And you do kind of get lost. By the end, you pretty much have figured it all out in your head of like how the timeline is.
You get the hang of it. It jumps around.
When you're watching, it jumps around a bit too much, and you're just like, okay, when are we now? Like, is this before or after he like paralyzed Jerry? Like
It seems a little unnecessary. The amount
100%. It seems, it definitely seems a bit unnecessary.
The amount of times. I mean, it's a lot.
Yeah,
it's like one scene to the next.
Yeah. No, 100%. And I feel like that is my main complaint of the show, is that a lot of the times it's hard to tell where you are on the timeline.
That is true. I didn't think about that, but now that you say it, that is true.
That and Joshua Jackson's fat suit are my two main complaints of the show. And that I'm not going to say it's a perfect show. I liked it a lot.
I liked it too.
But those are my three main complaints. Of it jumps around on it's hard to keep track of where we are on the timeline. I feel like Christian Slater and Alec Baldwin's characters don't really develop. And
that's also true.
Joshua Jackson's fat suit kind of looks stupid.
It's definitely a tier below. It's definitely like a tier below like Extraordinary.
Right.
Like it's not. Yeah. It doesn't hit that like over the top. Yeah. Like it's fucking good. It's definitely. I definitely recommend it. Like it's entertaining as shit.
It gets you. Well, one of my main positive critiques of it is that it gets you within the first two episodes. Within the first two episodes, you're like, I gotta see how this thing ends.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it right away. But it's missing that like, it's not the Queen's Gambit. You know what I'm saying?
It's what it's missing really is a higher budget.
Yeah. You could kind of see that. Like you could see it.
What it's missing is a bigger budget.
It looks like a television show.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And that's the thing.
It doesn't.
It looks like a television show in a time when television shows look like movies.
Yes, but it doesn't look like a series that Netflix would do.
Right, because Netflix, all their shows look like movies now.
Right.
And
I see what you're saying. You're saying it looks like a TV show when now we're used to seeing TV shows that look like movies.
Yes.
That's true.
Yeah.
It looks like something you would, and when I say TV show, I mean literally you would see on TV.
It looks like something that if this was TBS. 2009,
correct,
it would be the show everybody's talking about.
That's right.
You know, but now that it's 2021 and this is the golden age of TV, really.
Yeah.
It's just a show.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically.
I mean, acting all around pretty good.
Yeah, good.
I'm trying to think of like there wasn't even
there weren't any bad performances.
No, even Alec Baldwin probably has the most muted performance.
I thought Alec Baldwin and Christian Slater were the two weakest performances.
Yeah, but even
which is kind of an issue if they're like your heroes, basically.
They were not main character material, either of them. Christian Slater
I thought Slater did his role better than Baldwin did.
Well, Baldwin just didn't have a lot to do. Like, he was the straight man in every conversation, and he was like the respectful guy, and like he really doesn't do much.
Yeah.
And Slater is his
like
character.
that dynamic is also, well, obviously, like, created for the show, because if you watch interviews with those two doctors in real life, like, they're both the straight men. Like, they're both, neurosurgeons.
Fucking surgeons. Yeah.
So, like, they're not cracking, like, Dr. Randall Kirby in real life is not cracking jokes every 5 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, it's very buddy cop feel. Yeah. And it's very, like, almost like, I'm getting too old for this shit. Like, that type. It's almost throwbacky, like, those two guys. Specifically Kirby.
Yeah.
Slater. Like, he's almost got this slapstick, like, old school, like, movie character vibe to him.
No, I
and
agree.
then, like, the whole thing with, like, the assistant DA is a girl. Like, it was like a little bit of that too. You know what I mean? Like,
which also, like,
what kind of old?
It takes place in 2013.
No, I know.
Like, what? No, but it's just like no one's surprised that an assistant DA is a woman
and
in
she's just this, like,
in
little
2013.
Cute, like, I'm just gonna go ahead and solve this whole thing for you. Is that okay? I'm just a cute little button that likes to play basketball. And she was great.
It's another thing. I didn't like the basketball scenes because you could tell it was all shot in the same day.
And you could tell she doesn't fucking even come close to playing basketball. She's like...
Yeah, exactly. Yes, agreed.
See, that's a film thing that you picked up. Like, you could tell it was all shot in the same day. I mean, it's just the gym scene.
Yeah, I shouldn't say any more about that.
Oh, no. Well, you just made yourself way more guilty.
I actually don't know for a fact if it was all shot in the same day, but just seeing by watching it, like a lot of those basketball scenes, they take place in different years, but it kind of looks like
she looks the same.
Yeah, she looks the same, and she's wearing pretty much the same outfit.
And why? Basketball, like,
I don't know what
that was an arbitrary.
There's a lot of, like, weird. I'm realizing this now. I don't really have anything thematically to say about it, but there are a lot of, like, sports in the show. Mm-hmm. There's the basketball. There's that Duntsch was a football star. They added that Randall Kirby is, trying to climb Mount Everest, which I'm not sure if that's true in real life.
Yeah.
They, like, weirdly made all their characters very physically active, which if there's something thematically to say about that, I'm not sure if I know what it is yet.
Right.
But it is something interesting. I'm not sure.
How about the main female characters, like the people in Duntsch's life, like his baby mama and
Meryl Streep's daughter?
Yeah, who when I found that out, I was like, holy shit, I could see it.
Yeah.
But she kind of goes from being this, like, I don't know. I was under the assumption that it was very obvious that, like, Duntsch, I thought that was just like a side piece affair. Like, I thought, like, she didn't know that Duntsch was, like, not married, but, like, with the front desk woman who has his kid.
Yeah,
I was confused by that dynamic. Because
Yeah.
then later on, she's like, what?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. She kind of went from...
She kind of, from in the beginning scenes, she seems like this very ditzy character. And then she kind of becomes the very serious.
Yeah, I don't know if I would say ditzy, but like she goes from becoming like kind of like a wild side person,
right,
to being like the most concerned.
Yes, which if there's an arc for that character, I wouldn't really mind, but it kind of just switches. It's not really
I agree.
It's not really like you see her have an arc where she becomes that character.
Like all of a sudden,
she just switches.
You're telling me the type of girl that, like, the type of person that she is in that interview, is also the type of person who's like, I found one little tiny bag of Coke.
Yes,
and
exactly.
I'm outraged, and I have to flush it down the toilet, but I'm cool with banging him in the middle of the night, like. That wasn't, like, that was like a character thing that wasn't written out all the way. You know what I mean? Like, most people I know that are, like, banging in the middle of the night are also fine with Coke.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't get that.
Yeah, and it's Texas, so everyone's on Coke.
Everyone's on that ivermectin, son.
Yo, how great is it that Boots Riley from Sorry to Bother You fucking called it? That we're gonna have horse people. Unfortunately. You got any?
I think we're.
You got any more thoughts on this one?
I mean, I don't know. It's good. Like, I think we really, if I do say so myself, we hit it on the head because it's really good. The performances are good, not excellent. Joshua Jackson is excellent.
Yes.
But you know, it's got. It's
got
missing
issues,
something.
100%.
It's missing something. It's just on that. It's good. It's very good. I would even say maybe it's good. It's not that top level Netflix production. It's a good TV show.
Yeah.
And it's a crazy story.
Yeah, it's a crazy story, and Dr. Death on Peacock also, and the documentary that came out at the same time, the 4-episode documentary of Dr. Death, the Undoctored Story, also fantastic. And the podcast on Wonderly of Dr. Death.
Oh, Wandery did it?
Yeah.
Wandery makes some great shit. They did, what's up?
What's up?
Wandery did
We're signing off on an Insta Live. Oh,
sorry.
All right.
No, Wandery did now that makes sense. Wandery did Dirty John. I think they did.
Okay.
Wandery does really good shit. Every podcast I've ever heard from them, it's like, dude, I mean, it's next level. That's not when you said podcast, I was like, oh, there's a podcast, like a companion thing, like maybe it was, a couple of schmucks like us doing it, but like Wandery is Wandery's top notch.
All right, Dr. Death on Peacock 2021. This has been Movies by McManus. If you like this podcast, you could check out our YouTube channel where I do kind of shorter breakdowns on each subject that we're talking about each week. You could also find clips of our podcast and the video forms of our podcast on our YouTube channel. Follow us on social media at Movies by McManus on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. I'm your host, Greg. My brother, Mike.
Thanks for hanging out with us in the wilderness for a little, maybe a couple more of these. Then we got to figure out what the fuck we're doing.
Yeah.
But weather's holding up so far, so.
It's been a warm September.
Yes. And by the time this comes out, it'll probably be around Thanksgiving.
Probably. All right. This has been Movies by McManus. Have a good night.